Hello everyone. So today we're going to go over the Unit 9 practice test. This video will cover all of the multiple choice questions. So here we go, number 1. Which choice best describes the function y equals 9 to the x power? So we can see here the base is 9, and it is greater than 1. So that will give us an increasing function. So choice is then simply B. Okay, number 2. So if we look at the graph and we move from left to right, notice that we start with -1, 6, and then the point 0, 1. So as we move from left to right, the y values, we multiply by 1 over 6. So that will be our base. And the function is decreasing as we move from left to right. So the base being between 0 and 1 makes sense. And it is a positive function since we have positive y values. So the choice here is A. This one right here. Number 3. So the domain of an exponential function is, of course, x is an element of the real numbers. And we look at the range of this positive exponential function that's decreasing. The y values will be greater than 0. So once again, the choice here is A. Moving on to number 4. So there's an initial population of 750, and it triples every day. So this gives us the A value of 750 and the base, A, or the initial value, and then the tripling will be the base, which is equal to 3. With those two pieces of information, we know that the answer is D. 750 being our initial value, and 3 being the base. Number 5, investment of $150. Interest is compounded annually, 5% for 12 years. So we are given the function right here, where t is the time. So the time can vary between 0 and all the way up to 12 inclusive. So the answer for this one is going to be B. Okay, we don't know what's going to happen after the 12th year. And of course, the time is going to start with the t equals 0. So the answer is B. Okay, so let's move on to number 6. Okay, so we're given 4 statements. We're looking for the one that's not true. So given the base of 1 over 9, we know that this is between 0 and 1. And therefore, the function is decreasing. Since our initial value here is 100, and that's positive. So we know that the graph is decreasing. The domain is a set of real numbers. That makes sense. And the range is greater than 0. So this is a very typical exponential function. So the only one that doesn't make any sense is A, that the function is increasing. So the choice is A. Number 7. So we reflect the graph over the y-axis, which means instead of x, we will have -x. So that's the first transformation. Compress vertically by a factor of 5. So instead of y, we will have 5y. And shift it 2 units down. So instead of y will have y plus 2. Okay. So all together then, we will have a function that look like this. So that will be y plus 2 multiplied by 5 is equal to 4 to the negative x, like so. Now we are going to rearrange everything to make it look more like one of the 4 choices. So we have y plus 2 is equal to 1 over 5, and then 4 to the negative x. And then to finish the question, we simply move the 2 to the right-hand side. So y equals to 1 over 5 for the vertical compression, and then 4, the base, to the negative x because of the reflection, and then minus 2 because the whole graph is shifted down 2 spaces. So looking at our choices, the choice is A. Number 8. Okay, so very similar to number 7, we are just applying some transformations here. Starting the first one, reflection in the y-axis. So that will give negative x instead of x. Vertical stretch by a factor of 6. So instead of y, we will have 1 over 6y. And horizontal stretch by a factor of 7. So instead of x, we'll have 1/7 x. So to combine all of those together, we'll have 1 over 6y is equal to 9 to the negative x over 7. Multiply both sides by 6, so y is going to be equal to 6, and then 9 to the power of negative x over 7. So the choice this time is B. Okay, number 9. So it's a little bit easier just to look at the first 2 steps. Now we are looking at exponential growth in this table, and the growth rate going from year to year appears to be 4%. Okay, so that means B and D cannot be the correct answer because those would be 40% growth, not 4% growth. And from there, all we need to do is to substitute in the values, for example, 1. And so here we'll have 100 times 1.04 to the first power. That gives us 104. On the right-hand side, with C, if we also substitute in 1, then we'll have 1 minus 1 for the exponent. So that just gives us 100, which of course doesn't match the table. So we know that the choice must be A for number 9. Okay, number 10. So we are given a equation for the population of bacteria culture, and is asking for what happens 2 hours beforehand. So if at t equals 0 we have 700 bacteria, then we're looking at what happens when t is equal to negative 2. So let's just look at it over here. We have p is equal to 700, and then 3 to the negative 2 power, 2 hours before t equals 0. So of course that will be 700 times just 1 over 9. And that will give us 77.7 repeated, which means the answer is A. Rounds up to 78. Okay, next one. Number 11. So, in this case, best to divide both sides by 4 first. And so, if we have calculator here, 1562500, and then we divide by 4. Okay, so the left-hand side of the equation is going to be 390625, and that's equal to 5 to the x. And then what we can do is rewrite 390,625 as a power of 5. So that's 5 to the 8th power. And so we get x is equal to 8. So the answer is C. Okay, just double check that here. 5 to the power of 8 is, okay, so that's correct. All right, so let's move on to number 12. Solve for x. Now, if we look at the 36 and then the 216, they have a common base of 6. So we can rewrite this as 6 squared, which is 36, to the 3x power on the left-hand side. On the right-hand side, 216 is 6 cubed, and that will be x plus to the power of x plus 7. That means on the left-hand side, we actually have 2 times 3x. On the right-hand side, we have 3 times x plus 7. So we can solve this equation. Just continuing on here, left-hand side is 6x. The right-hand side is 3x plus 21. So that means 3x is equal to 21 once we subtract both sides by 3x. So x is going to be equal to just 7. Okay, so the choice is B. From there, we have number 13. Half-life of a radioactive element can be modeled by m equals m naught and then 1 over 32, t over 45. So the half-life of the element is. So when we're looking at a half-life equation, we generally want the base to be 1/2 and not 1 over 32. So what we can do here is rewrite the equation that we have. Instead of 1 over 32, that's just 1/2 to the 5th power, and then still t over 45. Okay, so here we have power of a power, so we can multiply the exponents together, which means this equation simplifies to m equals m naught, and then 1/2 to the t over 9 power. So of course, this number 9 here is our doubling time. So the answer is D. Okay, and finally, the last question here. We are looking at the function y equals 2 times 7 over 9 to the x power. So this is positive. The 2 is positive. It's decreasing because 7 over 9 is between 0 and 1. So things to keep track of. Number 1, 2 is greater than 0. And secondly, we have here 7 over 9 is between 0 and 1. So the first fact tells us is positive. And the second piece tells us this is decreasing. So we're going to be looking for the exponential function that is positive but is decreasing. And the only one that is matches those criteria is A. So the choice is A. Okay, we can also see that the y-intercept is 2 for that one as well, so that also makes sense. And that's it. So that's all of the multiple choice questions. The next video will cover the written portion. Once again, thank you for listening.